With me today is a very special guest that I've greatly enjoyed the existence of since I've discovered what the importance of skin is. Dr. Randomercam, say hello to the people.
Hello, I have skin.
I have skin. Yes, you do. You actually do, from my understanding. Which, hey, good on you. Keep your skin up.
Yeah,
Fuck.
don't be Jewish.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, don't go to a synagogue
I
anytime soon.
consider myself privileged over those who do not have skin.
Yes. Well, good. That is. I guess skin privilege is now a thing. You just coined it. Way to go, Doc. Anyways, but like, yay, skin privilege. Okay, I do not have skin privilege. Okay.
You never have.
I never have. No. At least this time. No. Okay. So I got a few questions for you. And we're gonna cover maybe at least one, maybe a second article if we have the time. But I've got a few questions. One is any historical periods you're into or you really enjoy, anything you want to mention historically, specifically?
Well, I don't know. And like I said before, I'm not very good with favourites.
Yeah.
But if someone asks me about a thing about which I have something to say about, I'll think about it. I feel like someone has to speak for the ancient Greeks. Like Alison from the Honey Badgers has a lot to say about the Romans, and Sargon has a lot to say about the Romans. But really, the Romans wouldn't be the Romans were it not for the Greeks.
Yeah.
The Greeks lived through the Bronze Age collapse, and then the Iron Age.
Yeah.
All the way through to the collapse that's happening now.
Yeah.
I know. Nowadays they're an economic laughing stock. I mean, Greece, the modern Greece.
Yeah.
But back in the day, they provided the Romans with the legal system and their religious system and their proto-scientific system. And I know that I know the oikophobic system was based on men. Or should I say the oikophilic system was based on men fucking each other rather than men fucking women, and that this could be compared with the rainbow flag mentality of the modern age. But it's really not the same. Our own modern age gay takeover is very different because it's based on a bisexuality that starts with women being bisexual, because women fucking other women is seen as an act of rebellion. But in the case of the ancient Greeks, it was based on men fucking men being an act of preservation.
Yeah, no shit.
Ancient Greece arguably was a patriarchy. It's the closest thing we can find in history to an actual patriarchy, even closer than Islam, which I won't get into. But it was based on men having affection for other men. Platonic affection, by the way, which when appropriate, other men just for being other men was the target of the. It resulted in a fair amount of homosexuality, but not from the top down like we're seeing these days from the British police, literally forcing homosexuality via the literal police. Ancient Greece was where they just didn't even illegalize homosexuality in the first place.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you allow men to interact at the highest levels of politics without the penguin suits, without the Undertaker vibe. Like when you let men interact while wearing togas and considering each other as vulnerable human beings, you let a populace of men who give a shit about other men do as they will. And not just women doing as they will. A populace of men who only give a shit about men is not a force of, who only give a shit about men because of women. It's not possible to preserve your population, as far as I'm concerned. I think I've expressed this badly.
No, it's fine. Actually,
it's okay, dude. It's okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Actually, speaking of, in ancient Greece, the boys wore short, garments and were the affection of the girls in school. Yes, girls were in school. Hard to believe, but
wow, education for girls.
Education for girls. Who would have thought of that in the patriarchy of the past? But anyways, And but the education system for slaves was very different than for that of the more noble rabble. For slaves, it was
long before the Industrial Revolution. Yeah. There was no choice but to advance slavery if you wanted.
Yes.
If you wanted to get ahead of the other civilizations.
Yeah, you basically needed slave labor.
That's not to say it was acceptably morally.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to improve your society faster than other societies improve their society.
Yeah.
The only machines you had were other human beings.
Yes.
And those human beings were almost always men, by the way.
Yes,
so
correct.
Don't give me this crap about women were always oppressed.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, no.
Most of the slaves were men. Most of the slaves that did most of the work were men.
Yeah, the labor, actually labor slavery has always been much higher than sex slavery in terms of per capita, in terms of domestic income, in terms of all that stuff. Like,
people will have sex even if you don't force them to.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, it's weird to think of in this patriarchy, right?
People don't do labor unless you force them to.
So
well, they
they're
can.
Gonna end up fucking each other at some point.
Yeah, no shit.
When people will do voluntary labor for their own causes, for their own innovations.
Yeah.
But if you want to force people into labor for someone else's innovations,
yeah,
you'll need to do it with men.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because they tend to be better at physical labor.
Yes.
Because of the higher upper body strength.
Yes.
People have known this for all of humanity.
Which it's interesting that they always mention the upper body strength ability men have, but they never mention the ability women have to shout the word rape and then 12 NPCs spawn out of the nearest shrub, like, and then attack whatever person is in the nearest vicinity of said woman who, blew the rape whistle. Like,
women have lower body strength as well, but they're never employed as the messengers who run across the continents delivering messages. Because they've discovered horses by then.
Yeah,
and once you've discovered horses, you're like, lower body strength is great, and it's good that women have it as well as men, but we've discovered horses now.
Yeah.
And they have a lower body strength kind of beyond what any human has.
Yeah.
So,
it
was in that sense it was horses who put women out of a job.
That's hard to imagine, but I believe you. I totally believe you. Okay.
I
next.
thought it would make it easier.
Yeah, you'd think, but no. Second question. How did you join Honey Badger Radio? Do tell.
It was so long ago now that it hardly seems relevant. I discovered HBO before it was called HBO. I found like a lot of people, I started on Karen Strawn's channel. I found it in like 2011, 2012. And at that point, she began advertising on her channel short adverts for her Blog Talk podcast, which at the time was not called HBO.
Yeah.
Google Hangouts were not a thing at the time. At the time when they first started doing their podcast, it was a show usually between Karen and Alison team and John the other. It was only around 2013 when they figured out that the Honey Badger Radio theme would be a way to go forward. Sooner or later, they dropped John, picked up Hannah, and having noticed that they ended up as an all-female cast, they thought, that's a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
There's an all-female cast of MRAs now. Maybe let's make that a thing. And by March 2014, it was a thing long enough that I considered them celebrities. This was me coming away from the atheist community, and to me they were as big as Hitchens and Dawkins.
Yeah.
Bigger even, because I consider that a more important thing going on. So I thought maybe let's make this a thing. And I messaged them trying to shill the idea of doing an animation series based on the Honey Badgers, and they responded fairly swiftly and enthusiastically and highly on board with the idea. So I made that animated cartoon series based on the Honey Badgers, and they were so impressed with the results they were like, "Get on in here. We fucking love you."
Yeah,
And
basically.
yeah, we've been colleagues ever since.
Oddly enough, I discovered HBR about, I want to say, October, maybe around there of 2014, I believe. Around there,
It's,
2014, 2015.
I kind of mourn almost because however exciting things are these days, it'll never be as exciting as it was in 2014
Yeah, true.
when I first got into it, all of this. And not only did I start um, getting together with people I considered celebrities and some of the smartest people in the world,
Yeah.
but that was the year and indeed the summer that I started doing video responses, and
Huh.
my own channel started taking off.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, even though my channel got bigger and bigger over the next few years, I feel like it'll never be quite as stimulating as it was back in 2014 when it all seemed new, and I went from nobody to somebody. I guess a lot of people get that issue.
Yeah, no, I can, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself, too, I've got like 20 subscribers, I think. Really tiny, but I mean, some people enjoy it, so hey, that's why I do it, but um, I mean, I never expect to get anywhere myself just because, I'm talking about.
Neither did I. But,
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like I'm very
That's why
much
I'm
talking
saying I think
about
you
men's
guys are
rights
kind
and
of in the same boat.
yeah, you and I are kind of in the same boat a little bit.
I was on YouTube for 7 years,
Yeah,
and I never got above like an average 300 views on each of my
yeah,
videos.
yeah. I used to watch Drunk Bird. That was very unusual. But no,
Well, way back in like 2008, I
yeah,
think, was where I first uploaded Drunk Bird.
yeah.
You can't have been there at the time.
How old was I in 2008? I was like 12. Like, no, I wasn't there then, but for it a few years or so, and yeah, I discovered it, and I watched some of your very early stuff when I got into your channel, just because I was just curious, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, he's been here like fucking 7 years or some shit.
So
Like,
I found myself in a hell of a convenient window
yeah,
because for the first 20 years of my life, I was out there dreaming of one day maybe being an animator.
uh,
And one day I figured out how to do it
huh?
around 2008. Well, I started off with Windows Movie Maker, where all you can do is load up one frame at a time.
Yeah,
Where you just draw one frame at a time in Windows Paint,
yeah,
and load one frame at a time into Windows Movie Maker and do it that way. And that's how I did those very early animations. And then I learned how to use Adobe After Effects,
uh,
which was a hell of a learning curve.
I bet.
Almost a vertical learning curve from Windows Movie Maker to Adobe After
Speaking of,
Effects.
what
But
was that?
that's what I did.
I remember this one dark cheese. It was like a bloopers outtake thing. You kept having trouble with the word skirl, which is funny because I can't say that word. So
Yeah, that was made up. All of those bloopers were acted out.
oh, okay,
Were real.
oh, okay.
I don't actually save my actual bloopers. That whole video was me pretending to do bloopers.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And one of them was the idea of a German person trying to say squirrel.
Yeah,
And it wasn't until years later where I discovered that's actually real.
yeah.
It's not just me trying to pronounce squirrel in the German accent. German people actually have trouble pronouncing squirrel.
No,
And
yeah,
that's
you're right.
actually why Chris has problems.
Yeah, that's why I have problems
Doesn't
actually. Yeah,
work in a German voice.
it's easier for me to say Einstürzchen. Like that's easier than skirl.
Oh, it's Einstürzchen. I thought it was Einstürzchen or
It
something.
probably depends on the dialect.
Yeah,
By
it
the
kind of
way,
depends on the dialect,
everyone
but
seems to have a shit word for squirrel.
yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Einstürzchen.
Einstürzchen. Yeah,
I'm fucking Bavarian, so.
yeah. Il is actually learning Bavarian German.
That's because that's where my family's
Yeah,
from,
that's
so
where
I
her
gotta
family's
fucking
from.
know.
Yeah, basically. But like, I know Plattdeutsch and I know Anglodeutsch. I know two types of German. I more so try to speak in Anglodeutsch, but I I grew up with plot Deutsch. It's just easier for me to do, honestly.
Yeah,
So
just fuck squirrels. Everyone knows squirrels are a pest, so
yeah,
they give them a name that sounds
Squirrel.
like a pest itself. The
Yeah.
name itself sounds like a pest.
Yeah, it does. The name is the definition of furry wrath. No, okay. I think kind of last one I'll touch on because we're getting kind of decent into starting with this article. But another question is, how did you get into music? What was your avant moment, if you will?
Weirdly enough, I got into studying music theory before I even got into listening to pop music.
Hmm.
I was like 8 years old when I played my first sort of stand-up piano. I've never played a grand piano. I was at my uncle and aunt's house. They had a cheap stand-up piano. Shortly after that, my parents bought their own cheap stand-up piano, and I began tinkling on that.
I want to make music. I gotta make a good voice.
And my parents, God bless them, offered to pay for piano lessons for me, and continued doing so for 2 years. So I've learned the basic lessons and eventually passed my theory lessons up to and including grade 4, none of which I remember now. Oh, I guess I do sort of only peripherally. I got bored of it by the time I was 10, but by the time I was 15, I discovered the acoustic guitar that we had in the attic.
Oh.
So I sat down with that and sort of taught myself to play the guitar, and then I joined my first band. By the time I was 15 or 16 or something. A sort of small local indie band of other 16-year-old indie enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Thereby, I learned other like-minded teenagers, and I learned through them how to play music that I learned with them creatively rather than academically.
Oh.
We were shit, obviously. And then I went to uni when I was 18 and formed an irreverent folk band with a couple of randomers. And by the time I left uni, I was able to make music by myself. So I did. It was all pretty natural. I had a great time.
Yeah. What was I gonna ask? Damn woman, jeez. Like,
She's not curious.
no, it's fine. I'll ask. Don't worry. But little question for later. But
I'll ask it after the
yeah.
show. After you guys are done, because I don't want to confuse you.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Shit. Trying to remember what was said. Fuck. Like, I have this moment where I'm listening and then I get distracted and then I'm still listening, but I forget everything immediately after it stops. So, like, it's.
Well, he was talking about his music.
Yeah, the music.
The indie thing went.
Okay. Actually, oh, here's an idea for a song title I came up with that you might be interested in. Feminism on Mainline.
Maybe it's Mapeline.
It could be, but no. Yeah, like it just we were talking in the Honey Badger Discord and me and some other fellers and I just thought of, that would be a great Randomercam song, like Feminism on Mainline. It reminds me of the Chem Lab song, if you have any idea what that is. But
you'll notice I very rarely mention feminism in my songs.
That's true.
Because even though I do obviously politically bent
I mean,
songs,
you could always
I'm
call
careful never to mention the actual ideologies to which I'm speaking of, because that's how song lyrics work, particularly in subversive lyrics.
Yeah.
You talk about the thing you want to talk about without talking about the thing you want to talk about. So there's very few songs in which I've even mentioned the word feminism.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, maybe not. But Elle's got an idea.
What about the word womanism?
Yeah, or women on Mainline.
Or you could always call them cosheads.
Even more specific.
Yeah, women on Mainline.
That's just black feminism, right?
Yeah, basically.
Or you could always.
There's white feminism, there's intersexual feminism, and then there's black feminism, which is called womanism.
Oh,
But
really?
weirdly enough, university situations never pay attention to womanism. They just give lip service to it while they push the idea of intersectional feminism,
Yeah.
which is white people are worse than black people and also men are worse than women. Because that's really the only difference between old school feminism and intersectional feminism. Old school feminism is men must be held back for the sake of women, and modern day intersectional feminism is white, straight, cisgendered men must be held back
Yeah.
for the sake of everyone else. Yeah, it's really just an extension of who you exclude. It's really, yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You could always call them causeheads too.
Yeah, if you know that movie.
I'm taking this all from a movie called PCU.
Yeah.
Not familiar with it. I will look it up if I remember.
Okay.
I can message it to you after the thing.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's get on with this. This is the light funny story. Since we're only about 20 minutes in or so, we'll do. Well, if this one shouldn't be too long, but then we might do another one of the other ones. We'll see. Depends how you feeling. Uh, and this one's called. Now, this is possibly the only Mail magazine article that did not make me like rue the day of my existence. Like it's the only one that made me feel even remotely like, oh, okay. You know, like the only one that had a pleasant vibe to it, like a brisk morning's air. Wait, what?
I'm already intrigued at the idea of a Mel magazine article that make people want to kill themselves.
It's called all of them. No, but no.
Except maybe this one.
Yeah, except for this one. But okay. So these people ask propane salesmen how they feel about King of the Hill and what it's like selling propane and propane accessories. So, hardly seems like the catchiest of catchphrases, but somehow that King of the Hill line has become a constant source of memes. And of course they have to play fucking memes on this thing. But you were merely adopted the propane. I was born in it, molded by it.
Jesus.
And that's not the only Hank Hill line that's become meme folder fodder fuck meme
Meme?
meme the meme is here.
What the fuck is a meme?
I have dyslexia, don't judge me.
Meme.
Okay, meme fodder either. Hank Hill's lawn, his tiny ass, and his narrow urethra have all received a similar treatment. Bitch, I got a narrow urethra.
Oh, good lord.
Any comments there, Mike? Anything at all?
Is this about to be a women have it worse argument? I can't imagine how, but I could predict that it will be.
I've actually this and the because I kind of prepared.
Because how did Peggy have it worse?
She had giant feet. That's how.
I guess Hank could be a bit of a bore every now and again, but he was no Homer Simpson. So how is this going to work?
Well, I did read the Tradwife Life one as well, but that one I did a video on, but it has been released, but I will release it soon. So you get a twofer here soon, folks. Oh boy.
Okay.
So yeah. I kind of now want it to be about women worsting. I don't know why. You've inspired that drive in me there, Mike. So they asked these three people, Max Kimlin, Chris Scaturo, both of them in New York. Gee, I wonder why. And Peter Dwyer, that's a weird last name, Vice President of Sales for Kavanaugh. Wait, Kavanaugh is in the oil company or Kavanaugh? Oh, Kavanaugh Group. Okay, Kavanaugh Group. Okay. Wow.
It's not gonna be the one that was accused of.
Yeah, no, it's not. So
lascivious acts.
Yeah, lascivious acts with an adult who can't remember her own fucking last name. But no,
or where the fuck she was at.
Yeah. I don't know. Honest, Mike, you kind of dropped a nuke on this already. Like, I kind of don't want to go on with it anymore because.
Can I predict more than is happening in this article.
Yeah, no shit. You predicted more than reality itself. It's just like, what the fuck?
Maybe he has special powers like
Yeah,
him.
yeah, he has special powers. Okay,
Maybe he
okay.
has better intuition than everyone.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you have woman magical powers?
Do you have woman magical powers that make women oppressed because reasons? Because men? Okay, I got. You know what? I'm gonna pull it. Okay, that's not what I meant. Okay, I gotta read this to you. This is a random thing that I've got pulled up here. I didn't send you a link or nothing, but uh, is there such a thing as women's intuition? I asked this on Bing. Okay, and it legit says there's no such thing as women's intuition. Wait, no. No, wait, no, wrong one. Okay, sorry. Is it okay? What does female intuition actually mean? Because I was looking this up for another video. However, the term female intuition isn't intended to reflect a woman's hypersensitivity in protecting her children. Rather, it is a term that is used to deride women and give men ownership over rational thought. Did you hear that?
Yes, it is the mama bear mentality.
Basically.
No matter what a mama bear does to rip you limb from limb, it's okay because she's protecting her cubs.
Yeah.
But if a male bear comes at you, shoot it 3 times in the head.
Jesus. Would that be ruled as suicide or no?
Yeah, I don't know. It sort of makes sense because a mama bear is defending someone else and papa bear is defending only himself.
Yeah.
But apparently the nature of nature doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In such circumstances.
Well, now the real question is, what if Papa Bear was actually feeding Mama Bear and cubs? Then what? Did you just let him eat you?
It doesn't happen with species like bears, because
Oh.
bears are a species in which the male genuinely does go off on their own and doesn't bother raising the cubs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But humans are very different.
We're gonna have to hang up on
We're a
Mike
pair
for
bonded
like 3
species,
seconds.
which evolved to a situation in which the men very much do raise their children and they know that they are their own children.
Yeah.
So they arguably do have the same defense as to they're just defending their children.
Gotcha. I'm gonna take a can break. We're gonna call you right back in like a couple minutes. So Ale's got to do something real quick. So
I just gotta call my uncle really, really quickly. Then I'm gonna call you right back.
yeah, it shouldn't take long.
All right. I'm sorry about that.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay. Zoom.
Yeah, zoom.
Okay. I gotta go to BG like right now.
Oh, okay. Emergency?
Yes.
Yeah.
Emergency.
I gotcha. Well, I gotta use some cans, so.
I'll just say we ran out of paper towels.
Yeah. Well, I'm still recording, but just brief
Hello?
interview or whatever. Interlude.
Hello? Son of a bitch. Okay. We'll be right back, y'all. I'm sorry. Hi. Sorry. Can you run me to Dollar General real quick? I gotta grab a few things. Alright, thank you so much.
I'm getting tired of doo.
Okay, I'm gonna have to keep my phone here, but
yeah.
Okay, we're coming back, Mike.
Yeah. On our way, Doc.
And we're back. Sorry about that little interlude.
Yeah. You want to put on speaker?
Okay.
Hello, good sir.
Can you hear us?
Is his audio being a dork again?
Hello.
Are you there, good sir?
There
Yes.
he is.
Hello.
Hi, sorry, I took the opportunity to also go to the toilet.
Okay. No, that's fine.
I promise it would have been like no more than like 4 seconds.
Yeah, we knew it would be quick, but anyways. That's fine. Yeah, Elle's gotta run a quick errand.
Where's my other
Yeah, it should be in my pants still.
So yeah, where were we?
Yes, where were we?
Propane and propane accessories.
Yes,
Is this your most recent?
yeah, I think so. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You kind of broke the.
I'm sorry.
You kind of well, not you, babe, but Mike, you kind of broke the reality on this one because it is a Mel article, and I'm kind of surprised there wasn't the random mention of how Peggy was downtrodden upon by the use of propane. She just said okay.
Do you remember the Good Family? G-O-D-E. That was my judge's next cartoon after what I did during in Hill,
Huh?
where they tried to take the piss out of a left-wing family.
Huh.
It only lasted one season, like 12 episodes before it got cancelled.
Yeah, sounds like British.
You can take the piss out of right-wing families for as long as you like, but if you take the piss out of left-wing families, you won't last long. Even if you're Mike Judge, the legendary Mike Judge.
Wow. Really makes you think. Okay, so let's switch over since you like not I wouldn't say ruined, but you kind of salted the earth, so to say, in in a way that made me look at this article with weird lascivious
Spoil the
eyes.
ending.
Yeah, you kind of spoiled the ending a little bit. Okay, you want to do? We'll narrow it down to two: trad wife or gooning. Which one you want to do?
Oh dear.
Wait, what?
Yeah, which of the two? We're not going to do the psychedelic one. We'll do either the trad wife, Gen Z, or how to
We'll do
goon.
it in order. You sent me the Gen Z girls repping the trad wife.
Yeah.
So let's do that one.
Okay, yeah, let's do that one. Okay, so this is gonna be the second time I will tear this article a new hole. Okay, great.
Oh dear.
Oh boy, and just so you know, the
And without me, how dare you?
yeah, well, the lovely individual. I'm just kidding. The lovely individual who created this sopping wet masterpiece, if we can call it that in this modern environment, is Eddie Kim. And you can't get more Asian than a man whose last name is Kim. So this
Cho.
or Cho. This is not a Hawaii individual talking about the Hawaii culture. This is a actually wait, isn't Asian considered white now by the progressives?
I think South Korean is considered white by North Koreans.
He's not wrong.
I mean, true, but you know,
Wasn't exactly expecting that one.
I think South Korean is white by North Korean. Oh, that's hilarious. North Korea is best Korea because
If you haven't figured out that angle of propaganda yet, they probably should.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, 9 liter, yes. God, that was hilarious, Mike. God, you're such a 1-2 punch. I swear. Okay, you're gonna love this. How TikTok and the Gen Z aesthetic are selling a lifestyle used to justify misogyny and white supremacy in America.
Oh no, my soggy.
Misogynies.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
I mean, TikTok is famously a Chinese company, and they curate their content depending on which nation is looking at it. Like, the Chinese TikTok content is very much about how great China is.
Yeah.
And the TikTok that is exported to other nations, particularly America, is all about critical race theory and feminism and how the West should be the West. Yeah. And consider things like transgenderism and how great women are. It's all very transparent. Like,
Yeah.
like a country that's trying to undermine other countries while building up its own country.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that's a racist thing to say, YouTube.
Okay. Let me too. Finally the whites out of here. God, fucking women. Am I right? No, I'm kidding. No. Although we are going to talk about trad wives, which apparently is Satan, according to this article. Mention the word trad wife, and you might imagine the 1950s archetype: a traditional wife in a dress and an apron, smiling at her husband and 3 kids while presenting a gleaming beef roast at the dinner table, pleased as ever in her domestic domain. Now, what's wrong with this, Mike? What's wrong with this sentence?
It oppresses women. It oppresses Western women. Is what's wrong with it. No, it oppresses Chinese women somehow. Is
Somehow.
what's wrong with it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think what's wrong with it is that they're looking at what's that? Was the Sears catalog? Was that the really old one? They're looking at like the Sears catalog and these famous, portrayals of housewives in the 1950s, and they're assuming that that's just all of America, right? That was not most families. Most families, the man and the woman had some form of income. The women typically had their own home economy, their own kind of home knit circle kind of thing, and the men went out and worked, right? And even a busboy could be able to eventually, afford a family with the mixed economy of the private mixed economy of his wife. And now women are forced, and it's comparatively at least forced, comparatively, into the public sphere, the public domain. So she's no longer making her own tax-free, economic boost in the home, outside the home, throughout the home, thanks feminism. And now she has to basically be a slave for the corporation, as do everyone else, which, it's not women being oppressed. That's just, corporatism issue thing. But, whatever. Did I lose you so far?
Well, no, it's like the government recognised that women's first priority is the home.
Yeah.
And men's men's first priority is the home, but as well, but men also have an obligation to go out into the world.
Yeah.
And in ancient prehistoric days, they spent going out and hunting game and such. And in today's context, it means going out and hunting capital. It's hunting jobs and such. Is why the modern equivalent of men going out hunting is men going out getting jobs and such. And women's interest is and this isn't just a case of social oppression. It's biologically speaking, women's interests are still domestic, as they always have been. So if you want to usurp the positions of domestic life, if you happen to be the government and your quest is to usurp the positions of the modern life and hand over all that power to you, the first place you would go to is convincing women that domestic life is oppressing them. So then they'll give that up and devote their lives to the greater good, otherwise known as the government.
Yes. Once again, you salted the earth in your first statement. Bravo.
Yeah, this seems to be how we got ourselves into this place in the first place, because the government is a collective, and so it appeals to anyone else who also is tends to appeal to the collective.
Yeah.
And arguably, men are more drawn to individualism, and women are more drawn to collectivism. I'm sorry if that's a controversial
Yeah.
way of looking at things. But arguably, it's true, and it's not as though either of these things are necessarily wrong in and among themselves. Individualism and collectivism are two different sides of a coin that's arguably necessary. And if you do nothing but individualism without collectivism, you'll you arguably you can separate yourselves in a way that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
But if you focus on collectivism instead of individualism at the expense of individualism, then that could also have diminishing returns.
Uh-huh.
But we seem to be living through an age in which the dangers of collectivism aren't fully understood.
Yeah.
Because I want to say it's because we haven't experienced the the negative effects of collectivism, because we have. We've experienced them through what happened with the Soviet Union and what's happened with China.
Yeah.
And what's happened with anything that could be called communism so far, because that's collectivism,
Yeah.
as opposed to individualism. This is the thing. Individualism has different names in different societies. I don't want to call it liberalism, because this is the weird thing. In America, liberal means left wing.
Yeah.
In Australia, liberal means right wing, and in Britain, liberal means not quite left wing and not quite right wing, almost libertarian but not quite really. And this is how we get confused between authoritarianism and libertarianism, because no one, like I explained in a recent video, like a year ago, nobody calls themselves authoritarian.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows authoritarianism is a bad word that can only possibly refer to bad things. But people are still authoritarian.
Yeah.
They just don't call themselves authoritarian. They call themselves anything else.
Yeah.
For a long time, it was just called God. I'm not an authoritarian. I just believe in God. But whereas nowadays, that doesn't hold so much water. Nowadays, it's I'm not an authoritarian. I just trust the science.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, you mentioned God, and interesting about that. I've grown a little more compassionate about the Christian, ethos.
Absolutely,
More.
I agree. If
Yeah.
this was 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and you asked me, I'd be like, oh, fuck religious people. Oh,
Yeah.
they're the worst thing in the world. But 10 years later, I'm like, when you get rid of religion, what you get left behind is not this utopia.
Yeah. No kidding.
It's this power vacuum in which something else will fill the place of religion.
I think that's why essentially
It's feminism is
yes.
what fills the place.
Yes. And the state, which feminism and the state are basically the same bread but different sides of the butter, so to say.
Like I said about collectivism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was I gonna mention? I just like you're very, what's the word? Soothing in your jargon, and you're very almost mesmerizing when you talk, and it just makes me forget everything. I don't know why. It's not.
Drink more. That's what I.
Yes, there you go. I'll drink to that, but I'll drink fucking Pepsi Mango. No, but again, I normally would have a drink once in a while, but I kind of have to, not be too crazy about it.
That was a joke. Don't drink more.
Yeah, no,
you might be happier if you stay sober.
Yes, you might be right. Although I think I was roofied once, to share a little side story. I
Do you feel like elaborating on that?
Well, yeah, of course, but okay, I used to be a performer. I was a fire dancer at Fire University. It was this little performance gig thing we would do at like a stage park kind of thing in Davis in California, right? and I would go there like every week. I built my own fire staff, and I would spin fire, and every now and then have a pizza or drink a little or whatever. And one time, I basically had like half a bottle of Honey Jack with my medications, and I was on OxyContin, Norco, I think it was on risperidone. No, I was on duloxetine and a few other meds. And I was still like sober enough to know what was happening. I was still like cognizant of myself and my surroundings. I was body drunk like a motherfucker, but I could still understand what was going on. And this one Hispanic woman, probably 30s, 40s, something like that, offers me a drink of a beer. And I'm like, well, shit, a little sip of a beer ain't gonna fucking kill me, shit. So I take a sip of it, and I'm like, that's oddly sweet. Like, very, like for a beer, it's not
Or
sweet like
compared to
sugar.
Honey Jack.
It might have been. She might have put honey jack in there for all I fucking know. But and this was after I was done with the honey jack. I left it, somewhere else, and I was done with it. Because I didn't want to, go past my limit. So I just thought, okay, well, a little sip of beer wouldn't hurt. And it was oddly sweet. And at least for a beer, it was sweet. And I remember nothing after that. I bought pizza, and I don't remember that. I walked into a fucking door pane, and I don't remember that. Like, and apparently I told my friend that I loved her like 10 times. We've been nothing but plutonic in our entire friendship, but, I told her that, you're such a great person. I just love you. Like 10 times. Like, that's the kind of drunk I get. And I,
It's the idea that mixing drinks will do that sort of thing to you. I'm not sure how. Um, Even mixing lager and cider will make you throw up like a motherfucker.
uh,
But I find drinking everything else and then drinking whiskey
yeah.
will obliterate my memory.
Yeah. No, I
You
get you.
just described something the other way around.
Yeah, maybe.
Uh, the idea that drinking something quite sugary followed by something carby like beer will do the opposite. Which I guess that makes sense. If you have a bunch of sugary alcohol and then some carby alcohol, or a bunch of carby alcohol and then a bunch of sugary alcohol,
Oh,
can
okay.
do something into you. Oh, once again, we can't figure out the pattern, folks. Just don't mix drinks.
Yeah,
That's
no, yeah,
the
no.
closest thing we can find to a pattern. Just don't mix drinks,
Yeah,
or
no,
something like that will happen.
yeah. Uh, and that part of the reason why I think it was a roofie was because I pissed like a lederhosen at like the next day, and two, she basically got me to break a stereo, basically. Um, like she told me to sit down on a stereo, and I sat down with the speed of God himself, and I like broke the fuck out of it, and I felt so. And the next week, I showed up to fire, not remembering the week prior. Well, that day prior, that week, and I show up, and I'm like, "Hey guys, what's wrong with the stereo?" They're like, fuck, it's fucking broken." I'm like, "Uh oh." So I bought them a new stereo, and they still have that new stereo to this day, and they, they were quite grateful that I repaired it, and they got a better one than the one they had was kind of a hand me down leftover kind of thing, but the new one they got was like a brand new fucking. I think I spent like 300 or something on it maybe. Um,
How do you break a stereo when you're drunk? I mean, I've broken light fittings when I'm drunk. I've
yeah,
broken my own glasses when I'm drunk. But
yeah.
how does anyone break a stereo under any
Um,
obligation?
well, remember I'm 6'10", and I think at the time I weighed.
6'10"?
Yes, yes.
Wait, did you tell me this on Tuesday and I forgot?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
It's fine, it's fine. But yeah, I'm 6'10", and I think at the time was 210, 220 maybe. I was a little more within healthy range than, I used to be before that. For the longest time I was like a buck 80 at 6'10", and that's like dead according to the BMI chart. Like fucking like so. But we all know the BMI chart's full of shit anyways. But yeah, again, it was very unusual, and I don't know, like I don't know if I want it to be a roof, like you know what I mean? Like I don't know if I want my memory to make me think it was a roofie or not, because according to my friend I went with, she was a little handsy, you know, around me when I was a little more gone than I was prior. Uh,
How familiar are you with debilitating drugs?
Not really at all, honestly. Like, not even a little. Like, I've never really done hard drugs in my entire life.
Because I have tried GHB. Once. I was
Yeah.
very careful not to mix it with any alcohol, just in case it killed me.
Mm.
So I'm not fully aware of how it interacts with alcohol.
Mm.
It certainly didn't knock me out.
Yeah.
It was even less debilitating than alcohol.
Mm.
Although again, I was to make sure to take a fairly small amount and do it a small amount at a time. But I didn't notice much difference between it and alcohol, to be honest.
Interesting.
This is all hypothetical, by the way. I would never
Yeah,
do
no.
anything.
Yeah, yeah.
That
In
includes
Minecraft,
GHB,
you're
which is
saying,
legal where I live, so I would never do
yeah,
GHB. But hypothetically speaking, if
yeah,
I had tried
yeah.
GHB,
What you're saying is
I
that in Minecraft you tried this one mushroom. You know, I get you. Yeah.
yes,
Yes, yes, definitely. Uh,
and yeah, I didn't notice any difference that would suggest to me that I would know the difference
okay.
between getting reasonably drunk and reasonably drunk plus GHB. But
Right.
there are other chemicals that you could spike someone with. But again, I've taken all of the drugs, and
Yeah.
I
No,
would know
I get you.
hypothetically
Yeah.
if any of those drugs created a different experience from alcohol.
Well,
And
that's why I had the idea of us doing like a psychedelic thing because I'm more or less aware of you playing Minecraft that one time. Um, but then you're like, I'm not really into psychedelic people, and it's like, okay, well, shit, well, we'll just toss that fucker. But anyways, do you want to read the next one or do you want me to?
what's the next one?
For a swath of right. It's the second paragraph.
The Gen Z girls repping the tradwife like it.
Yes.
Wait, have we already done that one?
We're doing that one currently. I had an aside based on my weird story about possibly being drugged.
Yeah, go ahead with your aside.
Well, no, I already went with it.
Up for listening.
Well, yeah. Actually, I've got another aside. Actually, if you don't mind, we could just talk about stories and shit if you want to do that instead. We don't have to do the article.
Yeah,
I mean.
that's the best way to go.
Okay, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mentioned this to Brian in my interview with HBR, but I might have been sexually abused at 12. All the evidence shows that I was. That's what the evidence after shows, all the evidence after that day shows that something happened that day, and I don't remember that day, so I only assume, something lascivious happened. But, like, the very next day after whatever happened, because my mind probably blocked it out or whatever, after that day, she immediately accused me of trying to rape her and another girl at the same time. So that would lead me to believe that something lascivious had happened, and how I acted after that moment kind of makes you think even more that okay, I had some sort of sexual abuse because I was promiscuous for a long time. I had difficulty making relationships. I had difficulty understanding people. I had trust issues. I even had some minor shell shock issues for a short time. I had trust issues with specific races, but other than that, that's kind of why I think that something did happen. Oddly enough, but um, I don't want to say it did happen, even though all the evidence tells me that it did. But I don't want to say it did because I don't remember it completely. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. If you're up a certain personality, then it's likely that you being the aggressor. But if you're a passive kind of personality, but you happen to be 6'10" or approaching it,
Yeah.
then it's likely that women will have approached you because women like that, and
Yeah.
women like the story that they did something with a 6'10" guy or a guy approaching 6'10", even if they never tell that story.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I think I'm leaping across a lot of not necessarily true boundaries there.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
It's like if you were a particularly beautiful girl.
Yeah.
And you had a story about being abused, it would be more believable than if you were a land whale. You know what I mean?
I suppose. I mean, I wouldn't know that specifically because I've always harpooned land whales, so to say. I used to go fishing back in the day. Harpooning was more the case, but that's how I like it. But yeah, no, yeah, like I don't know. Like I've got some odd stories just in my life in general. I'm trying to mention. Well, I'm trying to think actually. There was a few things I wanted to talk about with Brian, but we never got to. Um, I mentioned that I was accused for witchcraft.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like we may have talked about this on Tuesday, but
yes.
anything I talk about on Tuesday, I've gotten about by Wednesday. So
No, it's totally fine.
fill me in if you feel like it.
Yeah, totally. Well, there was this assistant, like lieutenant principal or whatever the fuck she was. She was this black woman, gender studies, feminism, the whole nine yards. And she fucking hated the white people in that school. Fucking hated them. Even the Mexicans she did not like at all. And there were quite a few Hispanics that even they had bad stories with this woman. And basically the black students, specifically the black students that everyone else thought were hellions specifically, would go to her and tell her that this white person did that and this Hispanic did this, and then she would basically get them in trouble with her authority. And it happened for quite some time, for a year or so actually. I believe she was there. And one of the times, these hellions told her that I used demon magic to turn on a television.
Oh wait, I remember this. Did
Yeah.
you call into the Friday show about
Yes.
it?
Yes, I did.
I remember. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, no. Was it the Friday show? It was the fireside chat with Doge. I did do that. But yeah, I'm trying to remember because there's a few things I wanted to mention there that I forgot that I didn't really get able to. I did have this kind of interesting, if I even remember it. It was this weird. It, it, it was me and two women basically. I was with one woman. It was kind of a submissive, dominant kind of thing. I was sort of in that sort of camp in my teenage years. Um, and
Which one were you?
uh, that was like the only time, but that was the time I was the submissive specifically. Uh, and
Interesting.
she,
And you were 6'10" at the time.
I think I was 6'7" or 6'8" around there. Yeah.
And you were put into the submissive position.
I know it's weird to think of, isn't it? Like it makes no sense.
It sounds weird initially, but when you think about it and you think about the nature of modern females,
Mm.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, women like to put men in the submissive position, and
Yeah.
not necessarily because they're small.
Yeah. True.
Women like to put attractive men in that position, and attractive men don't tend to include short men. They
That's
tend to
true.
include attractive men. Women put attractive men in that position. That's where it all gets, where it all develops plausible deniability. That's largely why they do it. Like, this guy's far too tall for me to have raped him.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, you put it that way, but no. So her and I were a thing, kind of dating, kind of more the sub dom kind of thing. And then this third girl gets in. And the two of them were friends for quite some time, so it seemed like, okay, well, we're going to add a third person to it. Okay, who cares? She ends up being my submissive, so if that kind of gives you the hierarchy there, you know. And basically, she um betrayed both of us, and it was this big debacle kind of thing. She basically just wanted to ruin me and the other girl, is really all it was. And that whole thing falls apart, and I basically had a mental breakdown as a result because I was pretty much in love with both of them, pretty much. And both of them disowning me at the same time. You know what I mean? And it kind of makes me wonder how often men get in this weird position where more than one woman disowns him at the same time. And like one woman doing it alone, especially a woman you've known for years, you know, like just doing it, disowning you, wanting nothing to do with you, fuck off, fuck you, whatever, right? That alone's got to fucking crush a man's soul. But two at the same time, like fuck. No wonder I went fucking crazy, you know, like. And I mean, obviously, I don't, I don't know what's happened to either of them since. Whatever. I don't really care to be honest, but at the same time, it's just weird looking back on it because they basically told me to choose, and I had my choice. Like I knew which one I was gonna pick, but I was told to say the other one by the other one, basically, if I remember correctly. And I just thought, okay, well, again, me having mental depression issues at the time, um, she basically catches me in the act, so to say, and the other one's like, "Oh, see, he's a traitor. I've proven it." And then they're like, "Oh shit," like, and all that fucking fell down. And as a result, I went to a mental health facility for 5.5, 6 months. So yeah, fun story. um,
Yeah, can't relate to it. I'm afraid.
I mean, that's fair.
In my youth, highly unsexed. Um, I've had very few sexual partners in my life, and at the time, it was highly frustrating.
Yeah. No,
I can't say I was a purely independent MGTOW Sigma male. At the time, I really wished I was getting more than I did.
yeah.
But in retrospect, I'm glad that I didn't.
Yeah.
Because when you come, the frustration that you feel with not getting any is a frustration that goes away after time.
Yeah.
But the frustration that you feel from ending a relationship is something you don't get over.
Yeah.
In my experience, is something that haunts you for life.
Yeah. How the
So,
fuck
yeah,
women
so
can end so many
in
relationships?
retrospect,
Yeah.
even though it was frustrating at the time, I'm glad that I didn't engage in many relationships.
Honestly,
Because if I did, I would now be haunted with far more hideous memories than I am.
Yeah. No. Honestly, I at the time the debauchery, it was obvious I had suffered from sexual abuse, so duh, that was obvious. But at the time, I thought, okay, well, I'm living the life, whatever, right? You're just grateful to be with someone at that point. But looking back on it, I really wish I didn't do any of that shit, honestly. Like I don't know, like I've settled down, I have my partner, and I'm happy with my wife and my lot in life. I'm happy with all that. And it kind of just makes me wish I never experimented. You know what I mean? Like it kind of makes me wish I never reached for the forbidden fruit, so to say.
Yeah, this is the narrative that flies in the face of the whole nice narrative.
Yeah. Oh God.
If you were a young man who
Yeah, I know.
who experienced early sexual relations with perhaps an older woman,
Yeah.
the narrative you'll get is nice. Oh man, I wish I
He's
had
talking
done that
about
when I was your age.
the nice stuff
But the people
with
who
people
actually
being abused.
experience that come away from it going like,
The nice stuff
yeah,
of people being abused by
I highly
teachers.
regret that. I wish it didn't happen. Much
Yeah, when
like
people say nice.
with
Yeah.
the reversal of the sexes.
Yeah.
Like a young girl who has memories of having had sexual relations with an older man at that time. Not only regrets it, but is treated as a rape victim.
Yeah.
Whereas a young man who's experienced that is treated as nice. Maybe there's biological reasons for believing these things, but you can't call it equality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah. The idea that that males who are deflowered at an early age are considered lucky, but women who are deflowered at an early age are considered tainted.
Yeah.
Is however natural you may feel that to be, it's that's certainly not something that could be called equality.
Yeah. No.
Especially if you consider females to mature sexually earlier than males.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then males who were deflowered early are more violated than females who were deflowered early. I'm sorry to use terms males and females, but that seems to be what we're left having to do. Get in the age of pronouns.
Yeah. No. I will say this because you've asked the question once in one of your videos of what do Germans do in with der, die, and das and all that stuff with the pronoun thing.
Do I have to say the Bavarian?
The Bavarian ones are even weirder, but the Bavarian ones are even weirder, but yeah, there's four in Bavarian, but in German there's three. And
4?
Yeah.
What do you do beyond male and female and neutral?
There's two neutrals.
Yeah, there's two fucking neutrals, and I don't get
Wait,
it.
what?
Yeah, in Bavarian there's two neutrals. Yeah.
Since I'm learning it,
Yeah.
all of them are da, which is male.
Yeah.
B, which is actually just a D apostrophe.
Yeah.
That's female. Us, which I know what that sounds like, but that's one of the gender neutral ones, and then there's
Yeah.
which is the second gender neutral one for some fucking reason.
Yeah, there's two gender neutral ones in Bavaria. So that's the joy of this couple knowing more than one dialect in German. That's the joy. Yeah.
Bavarian.
Yes.
It's weird how all this gender ideology is coming from Europeans.
Yeah, no shit. Like it's very weird.
Ironically, have not got over this gendered pronouns, whereas English-speaking countries already have in some areas.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not ironic because it's being pushed on us by Europeans.
Yeah, true. Ironically, but
because the people pushing this gender doesn't matter shit tend to be well, as has often been explained on Honey Badger Radio.
Yeah.
Feminists like to think they're getting away from the gender binary, but they express this gender idea that women are victims and men are agents, which itself is a binary. And even this idea of the non-binary is that there's two genders, the agents and the victims.
Yeah.
And it's always like that. And they pretend they're trying to smooth everything out into one thing, but they keep insisting that men are agents and women are victims.
Yeah.
Which is the worst possible binary gender division.
True.
You know, but they won't give it up. They just keep pretending everything else is an unacceptable gender binary, but this is the one unquestionable eternal binary.
Yeah.
That anything female is victimized, and anything male is a moral agent.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's just weird to think of women as these sort of passive, you know, victims. It's weird to even think of that because I've always seen, well, yeah, because I mean, even historically, like there's all these accounts of, you know, women being heroic or being even stoic or even being raised as men, you know, completely, you know. Now they still had the option to flip it back to female at any moment's notice in case things got too rough, but they were raised with all the privileges and benefits men had, right? That's always been a thing, like as far back as history goes.
Privileges and benefits
Yeah. Well,
men had?
well, yeah. Well, what they would consider privileges and benefits. What they would consider. Yeah, I know. But what they would consider, because I mean, you know, and because men had the responsibility of society and conscription, like from as far back as fucking rocks were invented, and women had the responsibility of the basically being the manager of the home, basically, you know, the financial. Women
The
didn't have to pay
oikos, as
taxes.
the ancient Greeks called it.
Oh, what was it called?
The oikos, this is why it's called
Oikos.
oikophobia.
Yes.
Oikos didn't just mean family in
Oh.
ancient Greece, it also meant family home and family
Oh,
business.
okay.
Because all three were one and the same in
Oh.
ancient Greece. Because it's a bit like corner shops or corner stores, as you have in the States. Convenience stores that are run by a family, usually an Indian family, Chinese family,
Yeah, no kidding.
which is much the same in Britain, by the way.
Oh.
Once upon a time, corner stores were run by native families, but nowadays, the idea of a native family running a business from a single home is quite rare. But it's quite common to see these businesses, these corner stores, these bodegas run by um, an Asian family or a Middle Eastern or Indian family,
Oh.
which is not a problem as far as I say. It's a good thing for a family to do, which is why immigrants, legal immigrants,
Yeah.
certainly to Britain, in the form of Indian families or Chinese families. They go, well, let's start a business. Let's live in this corner store and run a business.
Oh.
And that's considered, yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing a family would do. But not so much for native Western families.
Yeah.
I don't quite know why.
Shush over here.
I don't quite know how we bring it back without being called racists.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I pulled up something. This is like a world anvil thing that I've been doing. I started it last year or so to some extent. Um, 2020 is when I did it. So I mean around there. But yeah, I don't. I've written a few things recently, but I haven't published them. I'm just working on stuff. But I kind of wanted to throw something by you that I invented called male minded. Um, it's based in the story. The story is kind of a allegory for history, you know, but it's based on the elements in nature, fire, water, nature, all that stuff. It's based on that, and each person has two personality traits based on one from each, you know, or the two are of the list of nature elements: electric, water, ice, that kind of stuff. And based on,
Electric.
yes,
I mean, surely most ye olde elemental philosophies don't involve electricity.
well,
That's
true.
via wind and water, right?
Well,
Electricity wasn't discovered until good old Alessandro Volta in the 17th century.
no, true. But I this is like a historical medieval kind of role playing kind of thing that I'm doing, but it has metal music and kind of modern ish medicine. And the metal music is made with lightning magic.
Well, all modern music is made with electricity.
Yes.
That's why I find it so hilarious that people accuse white people of stealing black music.
Yeah.
When everything we know as black music is made from electronic instruments that black people stole from white people.
Yeah. Oops. But yeah.
If you want to go with actual black music, just go to their tribal music.
Yeah. The tribal music's quite interesting, actually. I've always found that to be quite interesting. Um. So this is a condition. It's called male-minded. Behold the strength, not yet equal to her beauty, yet both are desired from this male-minded. Recall the poet. Women who often take the roles of men in society. They tend to be providers, hunters, blacksmiths, even soldiers. These women are often of a large, stout build, broad shoulders, and a trunk-like torso. They typically have deeper voices as far as females go, and are rarely skinny. Yet some have a lean, muscular build to them. Often the male-minded are thicker women, tall and broad, stout and hardy, like tall dwarves with boobs. Uh, Tribes of primarily male-minded do exist near the mountains range of. Yeah, it does. I made a joke. Did you have to interrupt me?
Yes.
Damn it, woman. Near the mountain range of Olgoth, which I'll explain that in a minute. There, the male-minded do most of the heavy labor, and the men are typically sickly and thin. It's one of the few cultures that is female labor dominant, yet the men are often merchants, weavers, and fletchers. Very few male warriors exist in the Olgoth Mountains, yet the warrior couple, Chrysius and Alceus, are famous from that region. Alceus was chief of the male-minded, since only women can become the chief. This befallen upon her. Yet her husband personally trained the military of Olgoth, making them fierce tribes to the northern mountain range. Male-minded exist throughout all societies, yet are often rare. Yet when one is found, she is typically coveted by men and seen as a symbol of strength and beauty. They are often accredited for their deeds more than their beauty, though greatly both are admired. So what do you think of that little thing I came up with?
Well, thick women aren't that much of a modern phenomenon. Well, I guess that a modern phenomenon, but military British military generals in the 1800s tended to have incredibly fat wives.
Yeah.
Because because their wives were rich and lived in the most decadent society in the world.
Yeah.
So there's a big old difference between fat women being attractive and muscly women being attractive, and indeed svelte women being attractive, and that is an existing adjective that just means female bodied. And it all depends on how much privilege your society has, and how much privilege the women have in your society as opposed to the men. And men in the Georgian age, in the 1800s, in Britain, typically had enormously fat wives, but they didn't care because they were busy overseas conquering other nations.
Yeah.
Whereas in tribal situations, where women actually had to do shit, you expect those women to be not only not fat but also quite muscly.
Yeah.
Whereas in the modern age, women don't need to be fat or muscly. They don't need to be muscly because they don't need to do anything. So they have dishwashers and such.
Yeah.
But nor do they need to be muscly because fundamentally women's strength is their facade of weakness.
Yes.
I think it was Warren Farrell. It was his quote: "Men's greatest weakness is their facade of strength, and women's greatest strength is their facade of weakness." So when women have all the everything they need and they don't need to do anything, they their strength is in appearing weak, which doesn't mean becoming fat. It means becoming childlike. And this sort of explains why the Western ideal of a female body is skeletally thin.
Yeah.
Because that's childlike. If women can look as childlike as possible, then they can inspire men to protect them. Because men want to protect humans who appear weak.
Okay.
And that's how this becomes so complicated between fat women and thin women and muscly women. That when women have nothing left to do in society except offer themselves as a measuring stick of vulnerability, as is often called on HBR, then they have nothing left to do but appear as a figure of vulnerability. And at that point, if you want to appear vulnerable, then being fat is not the way forward. Being muscly is not the way forward. Being childlike is the way forward. If you want to inspire men to feel the need to protect you, then you want to appear svelte-like. You want to appear small and thin and defenseless, which is kind of the way in any ruling class, which you can track across any given civilization. People will even alter their bodies in all kinds of bizarre ways in order to make themselves appear more vulnerable. This could even present in men who want to join that class. It's not unusual for it's not unusual for women to be strong, because that's existed in civilizations all throughout history. Women have needed to be strong, and this is why even if you look at pictures of women from the late 1800s, it was not unusual for women considered photogenic to be really quite manly. Because that was almost considered attractive, because women were still it was still necessary for women to have some kind of reason for a man to be attracted to them, other than their sense of vulnerability.
Okay.
And when forgotten where I'm going with this, but
No, it's fine.
might be able to.
I know I just kind of sprung it on you. It's fine, but
when society has advanced to the point where women no longer need to be strong, first they get fat as all hell, like they did in the case of the wives of the dukes of the 19th century, and then it gets to the point where not only do they not need to appear strong, because even fat women can look stronger than skinny women. In the 20th century, it was all about appearing as weak as possible, because that's when feminism had set in, where the most beneficial thing an individual woman can do for her own being is to appear weak, so that men will do whatever they can to help them out. Because look at her, she's such a waif, she's such a sylph. She's barely 5 foot tall and 100 pounds soaking wet. We have to do whatever we can to help her. And this is what happens when you provide an industrial revolution to fill in all the domestic jobs that women used to have to do, like washing clothes and washing dishes. I mean, when you've invented machines to do all these things, then women in the domestic environment have no other And so the only obligation they can find, the only obligation they have left, is to be an object of something that needs to be defended for men. So is it any wonder that that the ideal supermodel body turned out to be a childlike body that's as thin as possible, as waif-like as possible, and as defenseless as possible?
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand the logic train here.
It looks like the same thing's happening as men become less and less important to the the next industrial revolution, opposed as the technical revolution, where we don't need men either, because their jobs are also being filled in by machines. You know? We haven't needed dishwashers for a long time. We haven't needed. We've had vacuum cleaners for a long time, so we don't need women to expend calories doing all that shit. And now we have machines filling in every role that men used to in industry and such.
Kind of the idea.
So they're also falling to this. Why do we need men to be big and muscly and strong when we have machines to do those things?
Oh, okay.
It's all. I guess that's an arguable point, but it flies in the face of the point of human beings needing to be strong for their own sake, because human beings who don't have strength might as well not exist.
Well, I kind of what I was going through with that the Olgoth is basically my Nordlands. Basically, it's kind of the northern mountainous kind of range kind of thing with lush forests and mines for fucking everything. That's kind of my idea for it. But I was kind of going for like I'm trying to go for like an inversion of men and women's roles, kind of women taking men's roles and men kind of, but they still need each other for reproduction and the home and all that stuff. So it's. Oh yeah, there's a Star Trek episode where that basically happened, but I didn't know about that when I came up with this when I was fucking 10. But anyways, but no, yeah, I've been writing since I was like 10, so
it would be
not when I was
great
10.
if men and women could occupy exactly the same roles in society.
Yeah.
But as long as women are the ones having children, it's never quite going to be exactly the same. I mean, a man and a woman in a relationship in which they don't intend to have children ever. And don't get me wrong, I'm in one of those relationships. I strived for one of those relationships, and I finally got one, because neither myself or Lauren want to have children. So we're basically in that kind of equal relationship, and she's earning a lot more than I am at the time. So if we were to be together in a physical, we're 3,000 miles apart at this point. But if we were to be living in her house at the same time, she would be the breadwinner, and I'd be fine with that. But that doesn't mean everyone would be.
Yeah.
Men and women thrive on different things. Yeah. And when it comes to a relationship in which you intend to have children, it stands to reason. It stands to biological reason. And any reason that makes sense, that while the woman is attempting to have a child, she's not going to be able to work as much as she can, whereas the man still can. So that's where the divide lies between men and women. And that's not to say women shouldn't be able to work before and after pregnancy, or even during pregnancy, but the fact that it doesn't affect a man at any point during the pregnancy, before or after, kind of suggests that we're not biologically equal.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I wasn't as much.
And if it has to err on the side of one or the other, then it does kind of stand to reason that the organism that produces the next lineage of organism would be, I don't know, would be better at looking after whatever organism it is. I don't know. I'm glad this isn't online right now because this would be controversial.
Well, I mean, you know, I yeah. I don't know how to respond to that. I'm sorry. But no, I mean again, like I was kind of going with a bit of not so much them just being fat, but them just being oh, okay. How do I hold on, let's see if I can find it. Okay. I saw this picture and it kind of gave me an idea of modeling it more after that. It was I think it was Ghost Bear from BattleTech. Hold on. BattleTech Ghost Bear. Um, soldiers female. If I can find that picture that I saw. Not exactly. Well, yeah, I did model it after you, but the muscle definition I'm thinking of it gave me an idea of maybe either doing it more on that or just sticking with my old design with you specifically. And well, yeah, yeah. It is based on you, granted, but I can't seem to find the picture. All these pictures are fucking dead. Um, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. But it was some picture like it was basically a woman with Schwarzenegger's body, basically, is what it was. And I kind of thought of that being like a subsection of it, but it's still being sort of like a rather muscular woman with like a hellberg of fat kind of thing, which is heavily. Yeah, it actually might be a different tribe. I think you're right. Yeah, it's probably a different tribe. But like, I don't know. I'm just brainstorming ideas right now. I'm not. This isn't nothing that I've settled with. I mean, I've basically been inspired after I've wrote this. I've basically been inspired to frame it more after my wife's form because she's, big giant Nordic woman kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, it could be like another tribe, or it could be like the women that aren't breeders, maybe that don't breed, and that's why they have more muscle definition, maybe.
We're at the point where we're not desperate to produce more offspring.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of
Just
controversy
brainstorming.
about
Don't get offended.
the idea of overpopulation being a
What?
thing. And to be honest,
No, it wasn't.
I do.
Yeah,
I
it is
don't like
actually.
saying this around my right-wing friends, but I do fall on the idea that we are getting a little bit kind of overpopulated. Not in cities mainly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're graduating towards the cities,
Well,
but
yeah, that's what I might do.
8 billion
That's what I
people
meant.
and rising at a regular rate, especially in China.
India fucking word here.
Is it? I know we're not overpopulated in the West, but globally speaking, the population is booming really quite quickly, and there's no danger of us not populating quickly enough.
Yeah.
Unless all you're interested in is the white race.
Yeah.
But if you're not interested in race, then there's no danger of underpopulation.
Yeah.
If you're worried about the danger of overpopulation, I can see where you're coming from. Because it was like 1 billion a century ago, and now it's 8 billion. And there's websites you can look up on this, and you can look at the ever growing global population. I was just going. Yeah, it's like 6 billion a few years ago. So there's no danger of us us as a species underpopulating anytime soon. Problem is overpopulating in places like Africa and Asia, in cities like Karachi and whatever the capital of but
Yeah,
I don't
no
know how
kidding.
to express to the world population, hey, you don't need to have so many children, without a bunch of white right wingers saying to me, you shouldn't be saying that. We need to make more people.
Yeah.
The native British population may be declining. I don't know how to make a case for, British people should have more babies and Chinese people should have less babies. I don't know how to say that without sounding racist.
Yeah, no,
So
I totally
I
get you.
just say, don't shame people into having babies. Hopefully that will get through to the Chinese population with the
Yeah.
native British population. Because the Chinese population don't need to have more babies. The Indian population doesn't need to have more babies. But arguably, British population
Yeah.
does. So it's all the more scary that we're pushing this experimental jab into populations that's going to reduce the Western
Yeah.
fertility while the Chinese carry on. We're still winning.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with saying that, some countries are a little too populated. We can imagine which two nations I'm thinking of, but
The ones with over a billion.
yes. And, still like, you know, with that, we definitely need um nations to be able to populate enough to have their own people stay stable. You know what I mean? Like for example, in Death of the West, I think it was by Patrick Buchanan. Um, he talks about how, and this was in like 2002 when he wrote this. He talked about how when or like 50 years from now, there will be no more native-born Germans. And
Germany is one of the only countries in, the, in Europe, let alone the world,
yeah,
that the average population is going down by like 1% a year.
uh,
But has that made them less authoritarian? No, it most definitely has not.
yeah,
Germany continues to be the dangerous governments in the world,
yeah,
largely because of the EU.
yeah,
But so that way, when the country's led by the people who aren't repopulating,
yeah,
people who have a desire to improve the world in means other than repopulating. You get shit like the EU. You get shit like Angela Merkel,
yeah. Jeez.
who tried to improve the world by killing people with experimental jabs
Yeah,
rather than just having children. It's arguably that's even worse because I do think the world is overpopulated, but I don't think this can be fixed with whatever the fuck Kryschat is doing.
yeah,
I just think maybe we should be paying women to have children. Maybe the first step is not paying women to have children at the expense of whatever men raped into having those children.
yeah,
Maybe if the government and the taxpayers weren't being forced to pay women to have children, maybe that would be a better step than injecting 100% of the population with an experimental jab that just happens to sterilize people. Alright, I'm not uploading this part of the conversation.
no, that's fine. That's fine. I can't edit, so everything kind of is gonna get uploaded. Unless you're like, shut it down and then I'll just let you upload yours and just mirror it.
Yeah, no, this part of the conversation will get the video shut down and you'll get yourself a strike. So
Oh, I don't care.
proceed at your own caution.
Okay, okay. Well, I appreciate the warning, but if this falls through, I'll go somewhere else. There's no big deal to me. Um, I just do this because I want to. I don't do this to make money or to be famous or anything, like other than the fact that I'm just having fun.
I didn't until I quit my job as a postman. This
Fair.
is my job, so I have to be careful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of you talk about your time as a postie, and it's very interesting because you know, I've seen quite a few people in my own life talk about their own kind of middle of the work job. Like my father was a Air Force mechanic. He mostly did hydraulics, but he did other mechanic stuff too. Worked on cars, basic mechanic stuff, and that to me is like a very fascinating subject that I just can't get into physically because of my disorder. But at the same time, I still think it's really cool, the mechanics and all that stuff. And you being a postie is kind of like, oh really? The postman has a music career. Oh, that's very unusual. Fuck, like like really makes you think that people have more talents than the one thing they do for society. It really makes you think.
I finished my university course like 2 months before I went to one of those job agencies and asked
Mm.
them to recommend me a job. And at one point they said, "How about being a postman?" And I went, "Fairly license, but yeah." I thought, well, come on,
Yeah,
give me a job at my local post.
yeah,
And then 10 years later, I was still doing it. I
yeah.
started off doing it in Hull, one
Mm.
of the dirtiest cities in northeast England.
Oh
And
wow.
then I moved to London and picked up a job there as well.
Oh.
And yeah, what I just took on as a whim in 2004, I ended up doing on and off as almost a vocation until 2016. And I
Yeah.
only quit it because I had enough coming in from Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do whatever your circumstances allow, I suppose. I was lucky enough that while I was doing all that, I was also noodling away on the guitar, continuing to figure out how to make videos.
Yeah.
Do you know, if you had told 10-year-old me that in the future your job will be making funny videos for an audience that pays you voluntarily,
Yeah.
I'd be like, you're dreaming, son. That's never going to happen. But it went hand in hand.
Actually,
So
if you
I
told,
don't know what to tell people what to expect from a career.
yeah, actually, if you told me 5 to 10 years ago that I would end up moving from California to Iowa with a tall Nordic woman, that was my ideal body type, I'd be like, that doesn't sound like in the cards at all. No. And here I am with the womans, the whammons of the home.
Yeah, my life got progressively better 1 year at a time.
Huh.
Every year, my life got better
Oh, cool.
until 2020,
Yeah,
when everything collapsed.
yeah, I bet. Jeez, I think that was a collapse for most people. That was kind of the year fucking freedom died. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it just so happened to be the year where Trump mysteriously, for the first time since '92, was not elected for 2 terms miraculously because of 4 in the morning reasons that don't exist totally. Anyways,
Yeah, my shit got better
oh,
until I fell in love with an American.
yeah, no, I get you.
2020, I was not allowed to see.
Oh wow.
If it wasn't for that, life would have continued to get well. It wouldn't continue to get better because my life got better as of 2014 because of my involvement in honey badgers and mentors.
Yeah.
And I finally got to experience life as, dare I say, a jet setter.
Yeah, no, I
Because
get
I'd
you.
never got on a plane by myself until 2015 when I went to Canada 3 times that year by myself
Mm.
to come and visit other movers and shakers in this movement we call men's rights.
Yeah.
And it all got better and better
Yeah.
until 2020. Well, until 2019 when I met the love of my life through Honey Badger Radio.
Oh well.
And that was the peak. And then 2020 came around, and they went, yeah, you're not. I know you make your living through the internet, and we can't fuck you over that way. But what we can do is fuck your love life over.
Yeah.
Because you could no longer see the love of your life you live. So you can't go to America anymore, unless you do it illegally.
Yeah, no kidding.
If you're not a Mexican, you can't come here. Fuck you.
Yeah. If you're not of the approved spectrum of color, then, you know. But yeah, no, definitely. Um, do you hear my cat in the background by chance?
No, I'm just hearing
Uh, yeah. We might have to. Yeah,Ale's phone's getting a little low. Shit. Okay. So yeah, that was just a little something for my Land of Golgotha it's story I'm doing. I came up with a lot of the base ideas for this when I was about 10 to 12 around there. Um and I'm kind of like reworking a lot of the ideas as time goes on. So it's kind of this constant work in progress throughout most of my life. But I've got different disorders and different lands and regions and different deities like Sidus Morgul, the god of murder, because I meddle that way. Murder, murder. No, okay. Anyways, yeah. So and a bunch of other crazy, fun conditions and disorders and diseases. I'm big into like the disease side of story making because I like I like
there's a novel in the making somewhere.
yeah, exactly. Well, again, the diseases.
Yeah, that he's probably gonna force me to write.
Yeah, probably. I'm getting old. But anyways, the fucking I like working on the disease aspect of lore. I don't know why. Just the idea of weird magical sicknesses happening to people is just interesting to me. I don't know why. But so yeah, let me
Write a book,
yeah.
millions have been made on small.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean I'll probably I've actually been thinking of doing another short story recently. Kind of the Yeah, I know. I'm getting off, woman. Um, I'm thinking of doing one based on the god of murder fucking with the humans of the world in this fun little, you know, case of cat and mouse murder trial, basically him playing both sides kind of thing and how that turns out and he'll Sidus basically fucks with humans and gets them to kill each other for fun and shit like all sorts of fun stuff. But anyways, um let's I can call you on my Discord, but it'll cut out a little bit. But Elle's gotta get off the phone. I think we're about done with the video. It's about an hour and a half, so we got some good time on it. I think we're good on the timing, and if you want to keep talking, we can talk on my Discord or whatever. Or if you want to get or whatever, it's totally up to you.
Yeah, I do what you like, but I might pass out soon.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
It's 2:30 in the morning.
Oh,
But
That's
that's
when
kind
him
of
go to
normal
bed,
for me
honey.
because
Yeah.
I don't have a proper job.
Fair. Well, I'll actually I got one or two questions to ask, and then I'll probably let you get. But yeah, that was it. Say goodbye, Mike. This was fun adventure with you in the foyer of the interwebs. Say say bye to the people, Mike.
Hi, interwebs. Bye, interwebs.
Bye bye.